Welcome back to another edition of Arizona Wildcats Insiders Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Hutchison, and we are officially here. It's Saturday. It's game day. Forecast calls for rain. We haven't had much of it yet here on the east side. By the stadium might be different come kickoff time with the 5 p.m. kickoff, but it's number 18 BYU, 5-0, coming into Tucson against Arizona, who's 4-1 and looking for their 5th win of the season. The Wildcats are coming off of an impressive win over Oklahoma State, where they were able to take care of business, just romping the Cowboys 28 points, 41-13. It was a very clean game for Arizona. Yes, there was 2 turnovers, one in the red zone and one where Noah Fafita overthrew the wide open receiver for an interception. But what I mean by clean is that there was no hesitation as to who was going to win that game. Arizona jumped out 14-3 very early in the ball game, and that's really all she wrote. The lone touchdown for Oklahoma State came in the fourth quarter off of a pick 6 interception, not even off of Noah Fafita, but off of Braden Locke. That interception came late in the fourth quarter. That's how they got their 13 points. But overall, great performance by Arizona. However, we are here. It is game week. It is game day. And Arizona's taken its lumps along the way this week. After the news of Kean Burnett planning to redshirt, a mutual decision between himself and the coaching staff, he will no longer be available this season. He's played in 4 games, 2 receptions, 11 yards. It's not great, and has struggled at times blocking on the outside edge. With his red shirt, it kind of reminds me with Speedy Luke, Rayshawn Luke, last season, who redshirted and then entered the portal at the end of the season, at the conclusion of the season, and is now killing it at Fresno State. I think Kean Burnett has played his last game at Arizona. I don't see him in an Arizona uniform. My prediction would be by the time the season ends, Kean Burnett will have entered the transfer portal. I see him going to a program like a Fresno State, like a BYU's tough, man. Maybe a San Diego State, a mid-major program, a group of 5 program. I don't think he's a power 4 player anymore. 4-star recruit, highly talented, highly thought of, just could never really put the pieces together at Arizona. A lot of injury issues have plagued him throughout his career, but even when healthy, some soft play on the outside edge has really cost him playing time. And it just grew very frustrating for Kean. And I think this is good mutual decision between the players and the program. I think it's a great decision. It's time to move on and get a fresh start. Now, that's not only the bearer of bad news for Arizona. Jara, it's a hard name to pronounce for me for some reason. Jara Barry Anderson, the Memphis transfer, who saw all of last season he saw an injury. He was out all last year, has been battling through injury this season. He's done. He is no longer on the program. They have not released details as to why Anderson is no longer with the program, but he is done. He will not be playing in an Arizona uniform ever again. Lastly, news came out Thursday. Trey Smith, one of the top defensive players on Arizona's roster, one of the top defensive linemen. Yes, the numbers haven't been there this year. He's been battling through some injury, but he's been a force in terms of putting pressure on a quarterback and forcing him to get out the ball. He's done for the season. He had a season-ending surgery on Thursday. Brennan would not disclose the injury. There will be no more further details on that. Just simply put, he is done for the year. Now, he did play in 4 games. I'm not sure his eligibility, because possibly he could redshirt and be back next season for Arizona, which would be a huge boost for the defense line. But you got to feel sorry for the guy. He played through, I think it was a broken foot last year. Brent Brennan told us during a press conference that he was playing through injury. He was playing not 100%. He felt this year he was finally healthy. They added some weight. They added some muscle, had a good NFL frame to him. And now you're looking at a season-ending injury. Very tough go for Trey Smith. But Arizona still has a game to play. And like I said, the forecast calls for rain, 95% chance. It should be around 80 degrees during kickoff at 5 p.m. It might slip into the 60s midway through the game towards the closer we get tonight. But you know what? I think this is going to be a very gritty game. I think this is a game where you're looking at the two of the three top defensive teams in the conference. I think Texas Tech has the best defense, but Arizona, best secondary in the conference and a very good front seven. And then, BYU, they're always physical. They're always ready to roll. They're always ready to go. Very physical and tough-nose-minded football team and program. They take after their head coach, Solani Sataki, who's done a very good job during his tenure there at BYU. But it's not your typical BYU team that relies on the ground. Well, BYU is an air-it-out school historically. And you know what? Right now, they got a lot of good playmakers. They got L.J. Martin at running back, who's been one of the better backs in the country, 490 yards rushing with 3 touchdowns. He's a lightning rod for this Cougars offense. Then you look at the outside. They have playmakers at receivers, playmakers at tight ends, and they're very physical up front. They're 18-0 for a reason. This is a very good BYU team, and they're led by a freshman quarterback that has the poise where he's not playing like a freshman. He's not making boneheaded mistakes. He's not putting the ball in harm's way. This is a very sound football team. However, Arizona is a good defensive team. They're a very good defensive team. They're finding themselves offensively, and by finding themselves, they're averaging over 30-plus points a game. Hey, if that's finding yourself, that's going to be a very good day for most offense coordinators. They can run the football. They have a solid offensive line and some playmakers that need to focus on catching the ball, yes, but when the ball's in their hand, can make a guy miss and get to the end zone, like we saw against Oklahoma State with Trey Spivey using his moves to get to the end zone twice. I think this is a very intriguing matchup. This is the first time BYU has played in Tucson, I want to say since the Kevin Sumlin era, Kevin Sumlin's first game. And that did not go very well for Arizona. That was not a good game. These two teams have played a lot of football against each other. 25 games, Arizona's 12-13. Arizona has the bowl win in Vegas, the impressive bowl victory over BYU. But, man, there's a lot of history between these two programs. I wouldn't call it a rivalry game, but I wouldn't say it's not just another run-of-the-mill game. This is two physical teams, two very good programs right now. Arizona's on the rise. BYU's on the rise. And it's a 5 p.m. game in Tucson. And when you look at Arizona, when they have these types of matchups throughout the years, they pull off 1 or 2 upsets. They generally do. And I think we're going to see a very good crowd. I think we're going to see the best crowd of the season. There's going to be a lot of BYU fans there. I'm projecting like 30, 35% BYU. They're going to have their fans there. But I think if Arizona could run the football, they could stop shooting themselves in the foot with penalties, which they have the last couple of weeks. I'll give them credit. And win the battle of field position, I think they're going to be right there. This BYU team is good, but they're not great. And I think Arizona has the best secondary in the conference. I think they're going to use that to an advantage. And Danny Gonzalez just seems to always find a way to get pressure on the quarterback. Now, the thing is going to be slowing down the running game. And I think Max Harris and Dalton Johnson are going to be kind of spying L.J. Martin and being there in the backfield. Those are some of the short tacklers on the team. Arizona doesn't miss a lot of tackles at all as a defensive unit. Meanwhile, offensively, I think if you could get into third and manageable situations, that's going to be your money downs. Arizona can't allow 3rd and 10, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 11. You can't do that. You're not going to win those possessions against such a good team defensively in BYU. Arizona's got to win first down offensively, and they got to continue what they've been doing defensively on first down. Arizona's given up 2.1 yards per play on first down. That ranks in the top 10 in the country. And when you do that, you set your defense up for success. I think this is going to be a very good game. I have Arizona pulling off the upset in the desert, beating the BYU Cougars 21-17. I don't think they're going to storm the field. They shouldn't storm the field, but it's going to be an incredible game. I think Arizona pulls out the upset. The defense does enough. I think they slow down BYU, and I think Arizona converts in the red zone. I think Arizona's going to show that they're an improved team in the red zone, and that's why they're going to walk away with this victory. So we have the Wildcats 21-17 over the BYU Cougars. The following week, Arizona will be in the top 25. At least I would think so with a top 18 win. But be sure to follow us on Arizona Wildcats on SI. Follow our Twitter account at Arizona Wildcats on SI. Or follow me, Troy Hutchison, at THutch1995. And we'll see you next time.